you everyone for joining Arrowsmith School's roundtable discussion today. I'm so excited to have some parents here with us, as well as our campus lead, and they will be introducing themselves shortly. What we're going to do is I will ask our in-person family member a number of questions, and then Adrian, as the campus lead, she will ask the parent from our online campus a number of questions, and we're hoping this really sheds some light on our Arrowsmith program right at a time when we're hearing about the right to read. And it's also, as we're filming this, Learning Disabilities Month, that I'm really hoping that you will find your answers with us as we help bring the brain to education. So I'd like our team members to introduce themselves, please.
I can start. Okay, I'm Adrienne Pratt, and this year with Arrowsmith, I am the online campus lead and the parent liaison with Arrowsmith School. I've been with Arrowsmith for about 10 years and I'm very happy to be here with you today. So thanks everyone for being here and watching.
Oh, thank you. How about Leslie? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Leslie Keller. My son has attended the online remote school for Arrowsmith since going on a year right now, and I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us. And Manisha.
Hi, I'm Monisha. My daughter Zoya is part of the Arrowsmith Toronto School, and we've completed a year and a half, coming on close to 2 years at Arrowsmith as part of the full-time program, and I'm delighted to be here.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much to everyone for making yourselves available today. We really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to start by asking Manisha some questions. So Manisha, why did you choose Arrowsmith originally?
Wow. So Zoya is an adopted child, and pretty early on in her life, we started to see signs of some deficits. And, but we were like, being adopted, there is always the possibility of a delayed development. But when she was around 7 is when we finally got an official diagnosis of ADHD. While ADHD was a big diagnosis, what we also were realizing along the way is that she had a lot of learning difficulties and challenges. So she took forever to learn the alphabet. She took forever to remember numbers in an order. And for the longest time, she could only count up to 10. So there was small, minor things like that that we were noticing as well. We tried a host of different therapies initially, and what we realized was that those were largely working at the symptom level and not really changing anything. That's when I discovered the whole world of neuroplasticity. And, we've done a couple of different programs with neuroplasticity that helped. The first program that we did actually helped manage her ADHD symptoms very dramatically, and it helped spark her reading. And then I discovered Arrowsmith. 3 years ago, or 4 years ago now, we came to Arrowsmith for their summer intensive program, the cognitive intensive program, which was a 6-week program. And we noticed in that 6-week period, I noticed some changes in Zoya, which I hadn't noticed for the longest time, despite every other thing that we had done. So her ability and confidence to just sit down and work at something increased dramatically. Her desire to want to even pick a book improved. And, one of the incidents that I like to quote is Zoya is a very literal child. And I think at around 4 or 5 weeks into the program, a friend of mine was talking to Zoya about how different children have different gifts. And normally Zoya would hear the word gift and she would jump to, oh, are you taking me to the mall? Are you going to buy me a gift or a present? And she thought for a few seconds and then she turned around and said, oh, you mean the ones from God? And that was the first time where she had understood something that wasn't direct and, and very concrete. So we also did the assessment at that point of time, the Arrowsmith assessment. And what we realized is that there were a bunch of different areas that she had deficits in, some that we knew of, some that we didn't. And we were recommended to come as part of the full-time program. It took me 2.5, 3 years to make my way to Toronto from India. And in Feb 2020, we came here and enrolled in the full-time program. And I'm so glad that we did.
Great. Well, it's definitely wonderful having you here. And as well, you're one of our parent reps, which is also fantastic that you're taking on that leadership too within our school.
Sure.
Now I'm just wondering, in which ways is the school what you expected? And then which ways isn't it?
So, it's been a very different 1.5 years, right, with the pandemic. So we came to Toronto, Feb 2020. Within 5 weeks of us arriving here, lockdown started. So Zoya was lucky to get 5 weeks in school or 4 weeks in school in person, get to know the teachers and some of her classmates. And then we moved to online. I was super, super impressed with the speed and just the sheer effort that the Arrowsmith team put in to make the program go online. And everybody was learning, whether it was the students, the faculty, the parents, all of us were learning how to do this. But I think one of the things that really worked is just how Arrowsmith and the parent population we partnered together because we were all in this together for our kids. So that was something that was unexpected, but it really worked well. And I think that's also opened up the gates for so many more children to get the help and support from Arrowsmith. Some of the other things that I think worked well is just this is the first time where Zoya felt like she was in a place that she felt a sense of belonging, right? Because she didn't feel like the odd wheel. She didn't feel like she was sticking out and everybody was looking at her because she was different and she learned differently and at a different pace. So very interestingly, within the first time we came here for the summer program, she stepped on the campus and within 5 minutes, she looked at me and she said, Mama, all the kids are like me here. And so I feel like this is going to work, right? And so that was really, really important for me as a parent. The other things that have worked is I think the math program and the English program that Arrowsmith offers are just excellent. The amount of progress that I've seen Zoya make in those areas has been quite dramatic. So that's worked. What hasn't worked, I wish we had more online over the past 1.5 years. That would have been a big one. I think especially in the Toronto school, the number of kids has gone down over the last 1.5 years. And I know the pandemic has had a role to play in this. I also know that a lot of kids have graduated and gone to school, a regular school, which is very heartening. But from Zoya's perspective, she's lost friends. And so I think that's something I wish we could do something about, but hey, kids are moving on and that's a good thing. That's what we as parents are here for, right?
Yeah, and I think you make a great point, Manisha, that one of the things that's different about our private school is it is meant like that we're doing well when students are with us for a shorter period of time. that our goal is to have students return to their home communities, their home schools. And so that is what's a little bit of a difference there. And so I can see the challenges that that would pose to a family and student perspective for sure.
Right, right.
You've touched on it a little bit, but I'm wondering, what would you say is the biggest impact the school has had on Zoya?
I think the biggest is confidence. Just the feeling like she can progress, she can improve, and she can do things, right? Within 6 months, well, actually even sooner, within 4 months of her starting the full-time program, she and I, for the first time ever, read 3 books. We never read a book from cover to cover before, right? So those are things that are very heartening, and I think those are huge impact. I think she also now looks forward to math, which she didn't earlier. She was scared. And so those are the visible changes that you see in her, but I'd say hands down the confidence.
That's wonderful to hear. So just talking specifically about Zoya, what does she have to say about our school?
She loves it. She loves it. This is a place where she gets to go, belong, make friends, where she feels like she's actively working toward improving herself. So there are goals, and she gets rewarded for any small bits of progress that she makes. And that's a big deal, right? For children who have had deficiencies or deficits through their life and haven't experienced progress. The feeling of making a movement, so the daily goals and the personal goals, that system really works well for Zoya. So she says that, and she says, you know, I feel good because I know I'm improving. I think this is also a place where she's come into her own. She's a teen, and that's always a very defining, you know, sort of place for any child, right? So that's, you know, Arrowsmith is home for her, and that's what she would say.
Well, thank you. So let's imagine that our school is considered one person. What sort of personality traits would you identify us by?
Positive, optimistic, and inspirational. Yeah.
And how would you describe the values of Arrowsmith and the values of the families within our school community?
I think perseverance is a big value, you know, whether it's of the school or the parents. Every single parent that is there at Arrowsmith has gone through a journey with their child, and that journey isn't ending anytime soon, right? It's a long road, and you know, as parents, we're not giving up. So if one thing doesn't work, we try another and another. And I see the school doing that. I see the kids doing that as well. So if one strategy doesn't work, you know, you try something different. So I'd say perseverance is definitely one. Hard work is the other, and just being caring and being a nice person, right? I'd say everybody within the Arrowsmith community are just wonderful human beings. So I'd say those were the big values that I see.
Well, thank you, Manisha. I really appreciate your responses to all of these questions. And so now I'll pass everything over to Adrian so we can hear from Leslie.
Thank you, Shelley. Sorry, I just lost the picture there. Okay, so thank you, Monisha and Leslie. Now it is your turn to answer the questions. So I will ask you the same one. So our first question is, why did you and your family choose Arrowsmith School originally? You're muted.
Thank you.
No problem.
So, I was trying to mute out my son who's doing tests with Arrowsmith right now. So we had a long journey, just like Manisha's family. I think all of us who go down a learning disability path, you get a lot of labels, but you don't get a lot of answers and a lot of results from the answers. So when Ronan was in grade 1, we realized there was a problem and started on our privately to get him diagnosed with what was ended up to be a learning disability. And then as a parent, you think, okay, I've got this title, I've got this thing, and I can take him to the school and they're going to fix whatever problem this is. And being it that Ronan was our first, there was no way for us to know where he was really sitting amongst his peers and in terms of education. And so we skipped forward a few years and a few more diagnoses with eye issues, seeing double. And we went into the pandemic. And with the pandemic, we chose to have our kids being remote schooled. And that really highlighted to us that our son was not being, his needs weren't being met at school. So he was being pushed along grade by grade by grade, but he was nowhere near where he needed to be. And as every year passed, you know, the anxiety level on his side plus apparent anxiety started building, because you start realizing that there's a tumbling effect to all of this. And so we were very open about Ronan's condition to friends and family, and because the more people we could speak to about it, we felt the more we would maybe learn another path that we could change. Just as Manisha had said about, you know, the more changes you make, the more you might have a better outcome. So we had heard of a couple of people who had had their kids in Arrowsmith and had amazing results with them. So we decided that that was our path. We were going to change things up, and with the pandemic, it made it easier to do that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Leslie. Also one of our parent reps. So we have 2 here today. So our next question then is, in which ways is the school what you did expect? And in which ways is it not what you may have expected?
So in terms of the school's ability to break down the issues that your child has was extraordinary. So we got many sheets of, these are all the parts of the brain in terms of, you know, where are his deficits, where are his strong points. So that really helped us kind of break down, okay, where do we need to focus the most at? So that was a huge benefit to us, because to that, you know, to my point before, is we just had really a label before, but not really any answers as to how to fix it. And so I liked that it was really focused, and everybody was so caring and understood, and everybody sort of went, yeah, we can see the path that you've been down. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. This is where you need to be. So it was nice to finally feel like you're not being shuffled along. You're finally being heard, and people are openly wanting to talk about where the actual issues are. And so that was a huge benefit. An unexpected thing was how many times during, because we're online, I will be here with Ronan. So how many times I myself will put in, well, you should do this, because that would be a strategy that I would use my brain to help my brain figure something out. And then you quickly realize, whoa, he needs to work his brain. So you shouldn't do that. So trying to step away is probably one of the hardest things for the online school to deal with, is that you have to sometimes remove yourself, because you want to help so badly because it is your child, but sometimes the help is just a hindrance. So that's a huge learning thing for a parent.
Yeah, thanks, Leslie. And like you said, that's something that's so different online, because for the in-person parents, they're dropping their child off and they're leaving. But for you, I mean, sometimes you're sitting beside Ronan. And so learning that stepping back and letting him do the work is helping, is really important, and is part of what makes us a little unusual sometimes too. So thanks for bringing that up. What is the biggest impact that you would say the school has had on Ronan?
So is the confidence. His confidence is growing. So when I was seeing him in remote school with the public education system, he was regressing. He was having headaches every day. He was feeling sick every day. Now he logs into class on his own. He's happy to go to class. He's happy to see his friends. So the confidence is a big thing. He's starting to read and write again, which he had stopped because what was the point? He couldn't do it anyway. So what was the point? So it's nice to be able to see that change in him, because you know that his brain is changing, because he's now figuring out that he can do it. And it's such an achievement for him to see it. Like, it's just like, oh, read that. And it's like, yes, you can do it, right? Like, you're there. So it's so nice to see that from a parent perspective, that he's just growing and he's not being left behind. So
I hope it's okay to say this, but we've actually seen him dance on more than one occasion. So
that doesn't surprise me.
that doesn't tell you that he's comfortable in class, and I don't know what does. He's got moves. And similar, well, same as what we put to Monisha, what would Ronan say about Arrowsmith?
Yeah, I asked Ronan about this question because I wanted to know from him exactly what he thought. And he said, well, Mom, he says, it's a great place for kids with learning disabilities. He said, they train your brain, and you can go and you can make clubs. So if anybody knows my son, he likes to make clubs. So he's made a Pokemon club, he's made a dirt bike club. And so they do get, like, they can not only learn school things, but they can do the social aspect as well off, on a separate program. And that really helps them, right, to not feel like they're alone. And, especially with online learning, it's difficult because they don't have a recess to go play with, or, that type of thing. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for asking him directly. Okay, so this is my favorite of the questions, I have to say. If the school were to be represented as a person, what would its personality be like in 3 words, would you say?
Yeah, I would say kindness. That would be the first one. Everybody is kind. It doesn't matter how many times I tend to interject to say, can I just ask a question to a teacher, either about something that Ronan might be struggling with, or something that I might be feeling I might be stepping out of line by suggesting something. They are always kind and always saying, no problem, ask the question. That's great. So kind, they're patient. If Ronan stumbles on something, it's nice that they're always, that staff is always like, that's okay. You got this. It means that, if your head hurts, that means your brain's just growing. That's all. And patience for the fact of, I can say honestly as a parent to him, if they've given it to you, that means that you're able to achieve it. So, and those words are not something that I could say in regular school. So it's always achievable. So I like that. And involving, right? Be like, Arrowsmith, just as this is being recorded, Arrowsmith wants to involve everybody, because to be honest, it takes everybody to try and get these kids to the point where, they're self-sufficient and they're running on their own. So yeah, that would be what I'd say.
Thank you. Yeah, we're always really grateful when it's a team effort, because that's what we want for all of our students. Okay, so the last question from me to you is, how would you describe the values of the school and the values of the families in the school community?
Sure. Hardworking. Everybody's hardworking. I mean, if you have a kid with LD, you have to work hard, and if the student has to work hard, they're going to give up. The parent has to work hard. The school has to work hard. Everybody does to make it all come together. And determined and open. We were really scared to make the jump from public school to a school that wasn't teaching normal curriculum, but it was the right decision. It wasn't the wrong decision, just because following status quo can be great for a lot of people, but it's not for everybody. And I would say with a child that's an LD child, is they're different. They're not bad in any way, but they're different. So they need to learn in a different way. And they need to, just like a runner has to pump their muscles in order to run better, a child with a learning disability has to work their brain in different ways in order for it to start working well as well. So so openness to change is a big one. Yeah.
Thank you so much for all of those answers. Shelley, I will hand it back over to you.
Right. We have some time left, and so I'm just wondering, is there anything that you really wanted to share that wasn't brought out by the questions that were provided?
I think that from, the remote aspect, I think Arrowsmith's done a really good job of fulfilling our needs. For us, we live an hour away from the closest facility. So we're so grateful that it went remote when it did, because it was going to be a huge sacrifice for our family to try and get Ronan where he needed to be. So we're really thankful of that. I would say there's opportunities just like this for parents to contribute, because we're very determined people and want the best for our kids. And probably there's a big resource there in terms of, we'd be willing to do a lot of things from a parent perspective, and also share things, because I think that we are very, when you get a diagnosis, you don't have a big community around you, and you feel very alone as a parent trying to figure it out. So if there was anything that I'd want to see even more that could greaten things, would be to get the parents more together because of that.
Leslie, I completely agree with you. I think that was one of the things that I experienced last year. So I think the whole parent body, even despite the pandemic, Arrowsmith did try and have these parent orientation sessions and the parent education sessions. So pretty much every month there were 1 to 2 sessions or opportunities for the parents to come together and interact. And there were a group of us last year. There were 4 of us who were parent representatives as well. And we met once a week, once a month, where we had the opportunity to really say, all right, these are the things we're struggling with. Could we have a session on this? We want to know more about this. Could we have a session on that? So for instance, there were a lot of kids that were actually going to be transitioning to regular school last year. And so they brought up the issue that, we don't know how to do this. And can we have a session with the faculty or with parents that have gone through this journey already? And in conversation with those parents, you realize that so many people have tried so many different things. And honestly, I think with LD and with any, brain-related challenges, you don't know what's going to work. So just having that resource of, all right, some parent tried X and some did Y. And then as a parent, you're saying, okay, I'm just going to try everything and something will work, right? I don't care what works, but something will work. So that was really useful.
Yeah, and also I really like over the summertime, there was exercises as to what you could do with your child and what was more beneficial, what wasn't. And that was helpful for, me to say, well, really, I should be letting him have a summer, right? Letting him have some time off, because you're so, we need to keep at it, get going, and it's nice to be reminded that actually you need to stop too, because that also helps too. But for example, our son has moved on from tracing. So then I said, well, is there anything that I could do with him to promote more? So his teacher suggested, okay, well, how about you do this book? And that was a nice suggestion, because you'd like to see things progress past the actual curriculum into something you could do as a little bit of homework on the side. So.
And I didn't mention earlier that Adrian's role is also parent liaison. And so that we've got, as you've noticed probably in the newsletter recently, there's lots of different meetings and events coming up that we're looking forward to having families engaged in. And at this time, I'd also like to welcome Alex. So thanks for joining us, Alex. I really appreciate you coming in. And what we've done is we've just gone through the questions with Manisha and Leslie, who are both current parents of students. And now Adrian's going to take an opportunity to ask you a few questions. And before she does, if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of your connection to Arrowsmith.
All right. Hey, y'all. It's been a while. For those who don't know, my name is Alex Hinojosa. I came to Arrowsmith for the first time in 2016 for the summer program. When y'all first started it, I hail from Austin, Texas. If you can't tell by like the whole y'all thing. And I came to Arrowsmith like to do it for real, like full time. In 2019, I did like the full year program. It was kind of like a Hail Mary almost, me coming there, because my mom had actually bought the book that Barbara Arrowsmith Young wrote years ago before I even did the summer program, but she just never read it. And I forget what like kind of spurred her on to read it. I think she just like saw it and was like, oh, like, I kind of love like, stuff about people changing their, themselves and, kind of going through that process. So she read that. And then like the next, like as soon as she finished reading it, she like sat me down and said, you're taking this test. Like, you're going to like, there's a school up in Canada. Like, I need you to sit down and take this test, because I think it could really help you. Because for a while before that, I'd been doing like kind of different sorts of programs, kind of same idea. Like I think one was called like Brain Balance or something like that, but they never really worked. So yeah, it was just kind of like a Hail Mary, just like absolutely like just purely by chance, coincidence that my mom just happened to have the book, and, heard about the school. And I mean, she fell in love with the idea. And then as soon as I got there and like started realizing, like, oh, like this is for real. Like this is like, this isn't just some like, hour long, like, after school kind of deal. This is like, this is like a for real, like these people are trying to make, these kids' lives better and just like change their lives and, for the better. So that's kind of my connection with Arrowsmith.
Thank you, Alex. It's so nice to see you and have you here. I got to work with Alex a couple of years ago, back when things were in person, and it's my first time seeing you in 2D.
Yeah, for real.
So I'm going to ask you 5 or 6 questions, and I'm just going to shoot, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So what did you appreciate most during your time at Arrowsmith And I'm also wondering if your perspective has changed at all now that you've had some distance from the school, because you finished last year. Was it just last year, right?
I finished, so I
Or was that
left
2 ago?
2020. I left March 2020. Yeah, 2 years ago now, I think.
Okay, so
Yeah,
year
which
and
is
a half.
crazy, right? I think about it all the time now. But
Yeah.
um,
So what did you appreciate when you were here, and has your perspective changed now that you've had some time away?
so I think what I appreciated most is I think the teachers' drive to help the students. So it wasn't just like, you know, it wasn't just like, some teachers just like kind of sit there, don't really care. Like, I think that the teachers were so involved with like the students and just, helping them every step of the way. And like, if something was like hard, it's like, hey, like, it's okay. Like, if you need to take a step back, like, it's totally fine. Like, or you want to like talk about it, or even just like, I'm not gonna like name names, but like there was someone in my class who was having a little bit of trouble, I think, on the you would have like a little trouble on the R thing, I think, where you like we would look at the picture and like have to write out what was happening in the picture. And so the student would like, talk to the teacher, make multiple attempts, not pass, but the teacher would be like, hey, like it's okay, like, don't get like super stressed out about it. I'm, here to help you. I'm here to support you in, taking on this task. And so like, he would sit with him and just like kind of help him. So I think that kind of student teacher kind of relationship of just like, hey, like, I'm a support system. I'm not like I'm not just like a watchdog that's, making sure everything is, going smoothly. I thought that was probably, to answer your question, that was my favorite, like most observed thing. And then now that I've had some time away, let's see. I want to say, I think now that I'm like kind of back here and observed. Sorry, could you repeat the question one more time? Because I have a tendency to just kind of go on and on.
No problem. You already answered the first part, what you appreciated. And so we're wondering if your perspective has changed on the school and what it offered, what it did for you, now that you've had some space from it, and it may not have.
So in all honesty, my perspective on the school hasn't changed. And I think if anything, I appreciate it more because now like I'm able to sit down in class and I'm able to, look at, universities and be like, hey, like I have a real chance at going here, because of the work that I did at Arrowsmith. I can actually like understand, what I need to do, how I need to do it, and just, it's given me a way to set like achievable goals for myself. So to answer that question, my perspective on the school hasn't changed at all. I think it's like one of the greatest things since like sliced bread. So
I was so hoping you were just going to say that when you said one of the greatest things. That's awesome.
Always get it right.
Thank you, Alex. What would you say, to the best of your knowledge, most differentiates Arrowsmith School from other schools?
I would say that it's like it's so involved. And so like I think with Arrowsmith School and drawing from my past experience, the fact that it's not just like you and one other person, it's like you and like a bunch of other people. So you don't have that feeling of like, oh, like I'm in it by myself, I'm just here alone. You kind of had that bond with like not just, like I said earlier, like the teacher, you had that bond with, your 12, or so classmates, which really I think was one of the things that helped me a lot when I was up there, is that I didn't feel like I was just up there by myself, just kind of like, oh, well, like, I'm up here, in Canada, 1,000 miles away from home, and no one really understands what I'm feeling. It's like there were kids there, not just from, Canada, but there were kids from, all around the world. It's Australia, for example. There was kids from Australia. When I went in the summer program, there was a kid from Lithuania. Like, there's just this kind of shared bond with everyone that you're all there together trying to achieve the same thing. So I think that's what kind of really helped me, all that. So.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your participation in that too, because you were a real mentor and community builder for those around you when you were here too, which we appreciate.
Yeah, of course. I was more than happy to help out when I could. So
thank you.
Mhm.
I said this earlier, but this is my favorite question. If the school were to be represented as a person, a single person, what would you say that the personality is in 3 words?
I want to say, so that's not my 3. Let's see.
You only get 3.
I think kindly ambitious, actually. I'm going to go with 2. So kindly ambitious, because like there's like such a drive to do well and to help other people and to continue, the mission started, all those years ago, to continue that and to improve upon it and to, give it out to everyone who needs it, right? I think that's like a greatly ambitious goal. I think that's awesome. But it's not like, we're going to just, toss aside everyone who doesn't fit our, bill of who should and shouldn't come into the school. It's like, no, we're open to everybody. Even like, it doesn't matter, what background or walk of life you come from, like, open arms all around. It's basically what I'm trying to say. And like, it's very comforting to know that something with such a, great task and great goal and just like down to earth spirit is that, kind and welcoming.
Thank you. What one thing would you change about the school for the better if you had to choose something?
What would I change about the school? Honestly, I can't really think of anything. I think that, I wish there were more of them, but I wish there was one here in Texas too. I think that there's a lot of people here who don't really kind of, take a step back and kind of look and be like, oh, like, the way I interacted with that person, I think, I should take like, the Arrowsmith test. Like, I wish that was kind of a widespread thing. You know what I mean? I wish that it was more widespread, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, there is a school up in Houston, but yeah, I wish more people knew about it is what I'm trying to say. Because I think it's such a great thing for people. And it's helped me so much. It's helped me get my future, lined up. And I feel like I can actually like, go out and do things now. Like, I feel like I can, the way I interact with people is completely different than, before. Even the summer program, completely different from before that. So I just wish that there was more of them, because people, I think, really need to hear and know about all the good that y'all are doing up in Toronto. So,
well, we have the same goal and mission, and you're part of helping that happen today, all of you here, in getting the message out, and therefore getting more schools that offer Arrowsmith, right? Parents, students, alumni are the people who make this happen the most. So you're doing that today. What do you think families would find most surprising about Arrowsmith School?
I think just like kind of drawing on what I said earlier, just like the connections that you make at that school. So like, first day of me walking in that school, I did not expect to make any friends. Like, I just, I kind of, went in, I was like, oh, it's going to be like the summer, it's going to be like the brain balance thing. It's just going to be me by myself. But you know, that first day, someone came up to me and I forget who, because it was so many years ago, back when I did the summer program, but you know, got me playing that game with the ball. I think it's called Gaga in the little, you know, backyard. Someone like, hey, like, you know, come and join us, and you know, we need more people. And you know, I was only 16 then, but you know, the fact that, you know, someone, you know, probably a little younger than me, like pulled me in, and there were kids my age, and even some of the adult students were like having fun with us. It was just the whole school, the whole student body was involved in this process and wasn't afraid to like kind of reach out beyond their own class to, you know, like play frisbee or play Gaga, or just like, you know, when we go on lunch break, like walk together down to the park. It was just kind of that whole thing, that whole sense of shared community, and that whole like, oh, like we're not just going to stay in our class, we're going to go beyond that. I think that was, to me, the most surprising thing, you know, based on my experiences of school, which is everyone's going to stay in their own class. No one's going to reach out beyond that. So I think that for me, I would say is the most surprising thing. Was surprised me, and I think that would surprise a lot of families. It's just that, hey, like, you know, we're all in it together, so we should all just be friends.
Thanks, Alex. I have one more question for you. And I think you'll really like this one. What advice would you give to students who are just entering the school, just starting out?
I would say work hard. And most importantly, like enjoy the process and enjoy the journey, because it will go by so fast. And by the time it's over, you won't even realize what had happened. Work hard, because you are going for something that will not only help you now, but will help you so much later down the line, and will help you achieve those goals that you want to go to and that you want to get. It's just so like I really can't stress those 2 points enough. Like that you just, you know, enjoy it, you know, and work, you know, have fun and play hard. So
Thank you so much, Alex. We really appreciate your perspective. So thanks for joining us.
of course.
Yes, thank you, Alex. It was great to hear from you and your thoughts on your whole Arrowsmith experience. And like I said earlier to everyone, that we really appreciate you taking the time today to share your stories and share your experiences and share your suggestions as well. That we are an organization where we really believe in a growth mindset and continuous improvement, and so we really value the feedback that comes to us. And before we go, I'm just wondering, any other thoughts, anything that you felt you needed to share or wanted to share before we sign off?
I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity. I mean, it's great that parents are allowed to come and speak and promote Arrowsmith, because it's been the best thing for our family, quite honestly. And, you know, the fact that we, you know, as parents, we get together for monthly meetings and stuff to learn more about the process is great. And, you know, I can't say enough about it, to be honest.
Thank you, Leslie. Great to hear. All right, well, thanks so much, everyone, for your time today. And I'll look forward to seeing you probably at some open houses in the future or other celebrations. Alex, I remember seeing you at the 40th anniversary celebration. So thank you so much.